It's almost impossible to find a Miraculous fan that doesn't like Cat Noir and Plagg. His funny and awkward ways won our hearts a long time ago. But what if I tell you his secret? Will you still think the same about him? If you also want to know what Plagg hides, continue in this video because this is Toon Time. Plagg is a cutie. He's funny, eats a lot, and is really energetic. And that's what won over the fandom. How many times haven't we imagined how good or bad camembert cheese tastes? His biggest love throughout the show also showed us a little bit about his personality. Although he is irresponsible, Plagg is very brave and fair. Like when he encouraged Zoe to face Chloe in the Kwami's choice, he is also very trustable. In the same episode, he chose to sacrifice himself to let Monarch win. It's not everyone that would do that, but he proves his value episode after episode, even if it's in his own way. With all the drama of Marinette and Adrien, super powerful villains, awesome transformations, and many heroes and powers, it's easy to lose ourselves in other stories and forget that in the end the Kwamis are the thing that we're supposed to focus on. What would be the universe of Miraculous without the Miraculous? Marinette would be just a regular girl like the other girls, and it would be just that. But the Kwamis, being cosmic beings that are around hundreds of thousands of years, have an incalculable power, and especially Plagg, which is the destruction Kwami, and is the center of the Chinese Miraculous box, rivaling in power only with Tikki, being able to be qualified as a destructive or even apocalyptical Kwami. And there's more, because he is the complete opposite of Tikki. If she represents luck, he is the complete unluck. Well, he at least causes some disasters whenever he is around, and according to the info provided by the show, Plagg can be much more dangerous and darker than we think. After the Kwamis came to Earth, they were utilized as keepers of the powers canalized by the Miraculous. And although their identities are kept in secret, the Kwamis had a big role in history around the world. There are reasons to believe that a lot of historical figures like Hercules and Mona Lisa were owners of the Miraculous, besides other confirmations, like President George Washington. Every time that some owner transforms, he's just borrowing the powers. But there's a limit, and I'm not talking about like the time limit of the transformations of Cat Noir and Ladybug. The Kwamis have an absurd power level. Coke has used his powers alone once and caused a lot of problems. And when Sass uses them in Ephemeral, left a time scramble and mess too. That is because they don't have control over their powers, just like Plagg over the Cataclysm. It's said to us that Plagg took part in many important events in history. In two-parters, it's mentioned that Plagg is responsible for tilting the Tower of Pisa, the submerging of Atlantis, and the most absurd one, the extinction of the dinosaurs. Of course that with that reputation, the wise Master Fu knew that Kwami was dangerous, and that probably only allowed Adrien to be his owner for two main reasons. Firstly, because Adrien is a good person, and secondly, his counterpart. Ladybug is also around to stop a catastrophe, and although there is a rule of them not utilizing their powers alone, the Kwamis use them once or twice. By the way, in two-parters, Plagg helped Ladybug using Cataclysm in the Eiffel Tower, damaging the place, but it is fine because Ladybug solves everything in the end, and they end up getting saved by the Lucky Charm. We have to thank Ladybug for always being around. And if their owners need to always be fixed, it only means that he's too dangerous to be free around or alone for too long. And more than that, Plagg only uses a fraction of his power, because he can't use his powers to the fullest, just like the other Kwamis. Although, when Cat Noir utilizes his powers in a much minor scale, he can cataclysm from a small object that contains an Akuma to much larger structures like buildings or even so. It is not that controlled, and it doesn't come close to what his powers can be. I believe that the only time that we saw what happened was in the Cat Bank episode, where his power level come close of being universal. So all those exhibits of power, with or without an owner, it still wasn't his full capability. But what if Tikki someday isn't there to fix the mistakes? It is usual that Ladybugs always take part in the final fight, doing the damage control. And consider that all the negative impacts of Plagg in the humanity, an interesting theory emerged. one that make a lot of sense. In it, we have Tikki acting as the complete opposite of him. If they are complementary, it also means that the size of their powers is equal, meaning that Tikki creates as much as he destroys, and fix everything that receives damage of the Cataclysm, from the simplest things to the more complex ones. Then, when Plagg extinguished the dinosaurs, Tikki, trying to fix his mistakes, created the humans. In science history itself, we understand that in another time the dinosaurs were the dominant species roaming the planet. They weren't the smartest, but they were the strongest. But with them being gone, someone should become the dominant species around. And here we are, humans, Tikki's creation to balance nature itself. And you might wonder, why didn't she brought the dinosaurs back? And it is for the same reason that Ladybug didn't undo Monarch's Cataclysm. It was impossible because she didn't have any lucky charm to use, since Plagg used his powers without an owner. And what if it is because of that we're here? The only sure thing that we know is that the cat Miraculous is in good hands. Adrien is a good and kind person, because if it was used for the evil, I don't want to think about it. But what do you think about all this situation? Comment down below. Thanks for watching this video till here, and hasta la vista!